thank you, producer Brandon. Where's Wayne at this time?
Camping.
Okay, cool. All right, outstanding. We always miss it when Wayne's not around here, but we do appreciate producer Brandon stepping in and taking care of business. This is Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting here in Shelbyville, Tennessee, Bedford County, the only locally owned radio station in Bedford County, about 50 miles south of Nashville, 25 miles south of Murfreesboro. And, folks, we got a lovely, sunny Good Friday here in Bedford County, and it's that time of the month where we have Bedford County Mayor Chad Graham to come in and talk about what's going on in county government. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here, and you're right. It's Good Friday, and it's a sunny Good Friday.
It's a sunny Good Friday. Hopefully, I did not look at the weather to see if it was going to be a good Easter Sunday, but hopefully it will be. Everybody will be out, get out, going to church on Sunday, so hopefully it's going to be a nice day. You know, I was thinking before the show, Mayor, that, of course, you grew up here in Bedford County. I'm trying to remember where you grew up in Bedford County.
I grew up in Bedford County for sure. We moved to the Bell Buckle area back in the 7th grade. Prior to that, we were in the city of Shelbyville. I went to, it was called Central Elementary.
I remember Central Elementary. Yes, I coached one of their baseball teams.
Mr.
But go ahead.
Was the principal at the time, and the school now has gone on to be named after him. A wonderful,
absolutely. I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did that.
Huge contributions to the community for sure. So started way back there then, and then through the 6th grade, which back in the day, you would say, 6th grade, everybody was at one school, Thomas. That was the only grade there.
I do.
So K through 5th was at Central Elementary for me, and then we went to Thomas for 6th grade only, and then at that point my family had already bought a small farm out in the Bell Buckle area, and we were able to get ourselves together where we could live there, and we moved there starting in the 7th grade, and Linda Yockey was my first teacher at Cascade.
So she, okay. Okay.
So I'm traumatized.
Man, you're reaching way back.
Hey,
back in the day, I do remember when she was teaching out there, as a matter of fact. But so you went on, graduated from
Cascade
High School.
1985.
1985. And then
champions. Was pathed toward the military, went to the military. I unfortunately got hurt while I was in the military. Had to redirect a little bit. Come back home.
United States Army, right?
United States Army.
Who? Okay.
I don't know about those Air Force guys, but we sure like to ride with them.
Well, the problem, we had air-conditioned tents and stuff, okay?
Yeah.
So that was a little different, right?
We didn't. I don't recall that on my...
You don't recall that?
I don't recall having air conditioning.
I spent my last assignment in an Army unit, so I knew what that culture was all about. But you know what? It was good. It was a great assignment.
I know some officers did sleep in their car from time to time when we were out on maneuver. So, but that wasn't you, though, right? They outranked me. So, of course, that's the case.
Then you came back to Bedford County?
Came back to Bedford, trying to get my bearings straight because I wanted to do community service. Obviously, I felt like I had a servant heart and loved the community, was why I was interested in the military and what that could offer. Also, as well, for skill opportunities for me, not really thinking that I was a great fit for college at that time, at least.
Right.
And so come home and got my bearings and realized that public safety was a very similar calling, and I thought there could be a place for me there.
And I bet there's a whole bunch of folks that don't know one of your first jobs in county government was not being a paramedic for EMS. What was it?
Correct. That's correct. I first started, and it would have been about 1980, probably 87, somewhere right there about at the Bedford County Sheriff's Office, and Don Edwards was the sheriff at the time, and they had a dispatch jailer nurse combo opening, and
triple threat,
and I think it paid $9,600 a year. Or at the time, it was 12 on, 12 off.
You were feeling pretty good then, right?
And so I.
But you started out as a jailer.
Started out as a jailer and dispatching the radio. This was back whenever the 911 call would come in, and the city and the county would transfer that call back and forth to each other by a designated phone in the sheriff's office. This was before the advanced E911 systems we have today and what have you. And so, things have changed a lot. Public safety, it let me know I wanted to do public safety. Law enforcement was not the fit that I was looking for. I kind of naturally progressed from there to EMS, where I felt like I wanted to be more hands-on in a role of assisting a patient in their time of need. Had interest in medicine and those things at all. So it just sort of naturally transpired that I would transition, and I really had big ideas that I would get my education, and then I would want to go. And I think a young person always thinks that they want to go to somewhere bigger, like a Nashville or what have you.
Right.
But 35 years later, I'm still here and evolved through the system. Started as an EMT. As you said, went to paramedic school, was the safety officer, became the assistant director, became the director, served in that role for many years. It really gave me an opportunity to be vested in my community, understand the community. I felt like in a way that maybe the average person didn't see on a daily basis. Working in the government and having to work with other agencies within government, I felt like there were some opportunities to enhance what we do better, maybe a better process for what we do. As you know, public safety, but particularly EMS, is very structure-oriented because you have to have those safety valves for the kind of work we do because it's so chaotic.
You literally have people's lives in your hands.
That's right. So you can't really just decide that 5 minutes before. Right. You're asked or called upon to act. And on that note, I want to say our hearts go out to the folks at Florida and the shooting there. But the public safety system worked. And God bless those folks that stand in the gap every day for us, whether that be police, fire, EMS, other emergency services or public resources that have to be available to manage communities. And so my heart goes to them. Now, directing back to that. So it just naturally became to the point where I thought, maybe at some point in my career, if there was an opportunity, if I could get into the top leadership role, or get into an executive branch role, not a legislative branch role of government, that maybe I could make a difference. Maybe I could be a part of a team that could come together with national standards and best practices and start to turn the corner on some of those internal processes that would make us more efficient as government. Everybody talks about that, wants that. Efficiencies help us keep tax rates low. I wanted to be a part of that. But then I also understood that we absolutely need to invest in education, public safety, and our infrastructure so that we're competitive for folks to come to the community that I like to say can pull on the wagon instead of get over in it. And by George, here we are. All these years later, I'm proud to be a part of it.
Well, one of the things you kind of skipped over there along those lines, because obviously you're well-versed in all forms and all parts of the government, is you served on the school board as well.
Correct. 10 years in that role.
Was it 10 years?
10 years. The gentleman passed away in my district. I was appointed to serve out the rest of his term, and then I served 2 elected terms in that role. That was a great opportunity for me to better understand that side of government. I had a pretty good understanding of the public safety, which is the largest part of the county general's budget, about 60%. And so on the school side, that's the largest amount of money that the county...
For the entire budget.
Yeah, for the entire budget. So
by far.
So it was a great learning experience. And there's a lot of dynamics associated with education and education budgets, and I'm not here to be the one to talk about that. But there's a lot of state, federal, local funds, and then there's a lot of restrictions required to how you can spend those funds. So everybody gets big-eyed when they see numbers, but a lot of those are predetermined as to how and what you can do with them.
And I guess the way I would sum that up is, having been involved with that for 10 years, I would say just don't talk the talk, you walk the walk. Right. You've been there and understanding the system. And I know we're at that point here in county government that it's budget talk time. And it's time to start looking at Bedford County runs on a fiscal year basis that goes from 1 July till 30 June every year. And I know you like starting this budget process early, so commissioners have all the information they can have fairly early before they have to vote on at the end of June on what's going on. But you may want to educate our listening audience, and we're going to do this after we come back from the break, but kind of on the different parts of the budget, what they are, what kind of percentages they are, and the type of things we have to look at here in the very near future, actually starting next week, but certainly later into May, and then we vote in June. Folks, we're talking to Bedford County Mayor Chad Graham about how he got to the point where he's at right now, as well as talking about the budget process when we come back from a 60-second break.
When's the last time you've seen the eye doctor? Don't wait. Whether it's little Carter's first pair of glasses or keeping a good eye on your vision health as you age, your eyes are a precious thing. See personalized care for the whole family and friendly faces at Dr. Hasty Family Eye Care on 605 North Main in Shelbyville, across from the U.S. Post Office. Striving to bring you excellence in optometry every single day. Don't put your family's vision off. Make an appointment today at 931-684-2020. Personalized eye care for the whole family at Dr. Hasty Family Eye Care. At United Communications, we're more than just fast internet. We're your local connection to reliability and service you can count on right here in Bedford County. With fiber-fast speeds and a team in your community, we keep you connected when it matters most. No long hold times, no out-of-town providers, just real service from people who care. Call 931-740-1800 or visit united.net. Thousands of Tennesseans already trust United. United Communications. Fast, local internet.
Folks, it's Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting here in Shelbyville, Tennessee, Bedford County. It's that time of the month we're talking to Bedford County Mayor Chad Graham about various things going on. And Mayor, if you want to kind of start out talking about maybe the budget process and then kind of move into, the portions, because there's a lot of sections of the budget.
There is. And when you think about the budget from an executive branch level, which the mayor is a full-time elected position, is the executive branch of government. The commissioner is the legislative branch, and their primary responsibility is, of course, to pass budget, set tax rate, and policy. And so I would say to you that, practically speaking, we're working with managing, massaging the budget 365 days a year.
Right.
The budget process time comes along, and this is that time. And I would say to you, just to flip back in history a little bit, the county of Bedford was under what was referred to as general law before, I believe it was 2006. That meant that really the mayor's office was responsible for the daily CFO responsibilities as well as the CEO responsibilities, if that's a term, under that model. The county had grown to the point, and again, this was a couple of cycles before I got here that the decision was made. But the county had really started out as small, as you would know and remember growing up here yourself. And the county and the structure and the accounting responsibilities had just evolved. And it reached a point where really it was not practical that the county could continue to be effective and efficient with its financial piece along with the operational responsibilities it had without adopting some kind of management act. The Comptroller's Office of the State of Tennessee and Audit had been encouraging and working with our county for several years leading up to the point that we reached that something needed to be done about identifying a more...
Well, they were encouraging all counties to do that,
correct.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. But we had reached the time that there had to be really some decisions made. There was too many things that were just not as tight in the structure of the local government as it should have been. The county of Bedford voted unanimously to adopt a Financial Management Act. They happened to adopt the one that was referred to as the 1981 Act. The 81 Act there are more than one financial management acts that could have been adopted. Bedford chose 81. What really makes the 81 Act is the fact that your school system agrees to go under centralized financial bookkeeping or management, as well as purchasing, all those things, as well as the highway department agrees to go. Both of those prior to the 81 Act stood independent, having their own finance people. They wrote their own checks. They had their own budgets. They tracked their own revenues. As you can see, just on the surface of the value of efficiency of government, to have everything under one structure makes a lot of sense. It helps. It helps cut down on the likelihood of errors and mistakes, as well as just the efficiency of not having 3 CPAs. You can have 1 CPA with assistance depending on how the system evolves.
Absolutely.
So we were grateful that, and I think it made a lot of sense, even though I was a department head at the time, that the county adopt this 81 Act. By bringing this 81 Act into the Bedford County structure, we went from having massive audit findings to even questioning of funds expenditures and other things. We now, through this 81 Act, and we've had it for several years, and it's been tweaked, we have policies and procedures that the county government has adopted for how the Financial Management Committee will respond and act and be responsible for. But we basically get clean audits. We have a clean audit for this year we just finished up. There's a handful of counties in the state of Tennessee that can achieve the level of, quote, a clean audit. It's almost unbelievable that you could do everything exactly right by the state standards every time when you're dealing with $130 million.
Yep.
And so what that tells me, and what I hope the public understands, is that it was a good decision to adopt the 81 Act for Bedford County, and it was a solid decision to put all of the structure of financial management under the Financial Management Committee through policies and procedures that the county commission adopted and agreed to, again, unanimously. I say all that to say this. So with having that structure of the Financial Management Committee, then the budget process is laid out and dictated, milestones we need to meet, reports that are required, timelines for the commission to be able to see and review the process. And so, yes, we're in the early phases and stages of that. I just say all that to say this. There are some within the commission body that want to modify the 81 Act process. I don't agree with it. We have a great system where we're getting clean audits. We have great ratings through Moody's with our lending opportunities, our bond ratings. So it seems odd that we would want to adjust a system that is high performing when it relates to financial management. But that is a process that the county legislative body can address and adjust if they want. And so we'll go through that process and see where it goes.
As far as the budget process itself, I know that we have some initial hearings next week. Those are just kind of the different folks asking for, hey, this is what we need next year. That's just kind of the first shot across the bow, so to speak, of informational-wise. And then we move into what normally about a month later, finance has to look at, what are the revenues that we anticipate coming in. This is what the organizations are asking for. And then we move into I guess we call that a work study session with all commissioners, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to remember, that's roughly about a month later, right?
Yeah, it depends on how quick we can get information from the state about values for what health insurance is going to cost to provide for our employees. There's some things that we have to know that kind of, you would say, siphon off some of the new dollars that might be available to operate for the next year. So that's what's got that back end piece of the Financial Management Committee very active and busy as we prepare for that. This first step, as you refer to, is exactly that. That's where the nonprofits that would like to request or maintain funds that have been committed to them in the past come before the body to start the process, to kick off where they are, what they're doing, provide their documentation that supports the value behind why we supported them. And then we're on to the departments. I think I have 16 departments that are my primary responsibility as the mayor. We look to see from those right away. Now, we also hear from the full-time elected offices and their budgets, such as the sheriff, such as the fee offices, the courts.
You like the trustee.
Those are full-time elected officials are responsible to build and prepare their budget, but to then bring it for it to be laid in and see how it impacts our overall financial abilities. As we then go toward the finish line of, we like to always start with what would at least be a balanced budget, meaning within the monies we have, and then we will set out to the side of that things that were requested that we don't feel like we can fund at this time. And then that really puts the commission in good position to look at what is what we believe we can afford and was within our means, and also what we at that time did not feel that we could put it into the budget and not have to ask the commission to adjust tax rate. And then the debate begins. And then from there, once we've heard from the commission and we've had study sessions and public comment and those things, then the Financial Management Committee puts that final document together that will go before the commission for a special session to consider and act and massage all things budget and tax rate.
What I really like about those study sessions is that Of course, every commissioner gets the same information.
Yes.
Everybody, whether they're on finance committee, whether they're on a different committee, but when it comes to the budget process, everybody gets the same exact information. Then we all come together for that study session, and I know as the chairman, you're good about any commissioner can speak about whatever issue they have in that budget. So, I mean, it's a pretty good process.
And these are recorded. They're live.
Yep,
and then they're recorded down to YouTube. And so you can go back and look if you couldn't be there or if you had some questions about maybe what was said. So I encourage the public to use those resources to reference for more accurate information than maybe what you might hear on the Internet. Just because you hear it on the Internet don't make it so.
I'm a French model on the Internet. Did you know that?
Wow. Wow.
You remember that commercial? That was a commercial years ago about the veracity of information in those spaces. It was some older guy that kept saying he was a French model. I don't know. That's me.
A little bit. I was wanting to be Fabio, but I don't have the hair for it. So.
I don't see that in your future either.
Yeah, I don't either. To be honest with you, I don't either.
Okay, so we go through the process, and why don't you kind of break down as far as we got a few minutes left here. Break down that the budget has what I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, like 10 different areas. Some of it's operating, some of it's capital outlay. Why don't you break that down for the listening audience?
To put that in perspective, when we talk about budget, depending on what your orientation is as far as what you're familiar with, like if you're in the county government, when you hear budget, you think we're talking about the county general fund, which is about $43 million. Whenever you start talking about budget and you've got an education background, you're thinking about their funds, and those numbers exceed $100 million. Whenever you look at, again, there's a lot of restrictions about what they, even though they have funds, they are restricted what they can do with them. And then, like you said, our debt service fund, we're carrying debt service of about $13 million. Education capital projects is like $4 million. County capital projects are right at $9 million. So when you run all these numbers together, and I left out a couple things like child nutrition, the highway department is about $5 million. Again, his funds come from fuel tax. That doesn't really come from us, but that's all part of the county general, particularly because we went under the 1981 Act. You see them all as one bucket at the end of the day, even though they're individualized with different responsibilities internally. That number comes out to be about $176 million worth of operating business that the county of Bedford does every year.
And that's just, obviously, that's not just local tax dollars. That's dollars that come from the state and the federal government and everything.
Right. A lot of state and federal.
But that still has to run through the budget process.
Correct. That's the numbers that the commission will see before them, and a tax rate tied associated with generating those funds.
When I look at it, and of course, and most people already know this, you were on the school board, but by far the largest chunk, when you include education, capital, child nutrition, school, the largest chunk is the school system.
Of the whole $176 million, correct.
That's the biggest chunk. And then the next, in looking at it and knowing about it, is certainly public safety.
Correct.
So you're talking about two of the basic things that government's required to do and provide. So schools, education, right?
Yeah, and I like to say this all the time. People, like to say, well, we need to run government more like a business, and we do need to use business principles where they apply. But here's the flaw to the concept right out of the box is the government is in the business of providing services that are not profitable. If the service could have been provided profitably, then you have the private sector that comes in and says, hey guys, don't worry about doing that for you. We'll represent for you. And so just that very first statement that we are tasked with the things that are not profitable make it very hard to, quote, use business principles, because most people associate business principles with making profit or breaking even. Right. And that's just not how this works. When you think about public safety, you think about the court system, you think about solid waste. We are the county governments, and this is a uniqueness to county governments, and this is true across the whole state of Tennessee. We have to provide education. We have to provide public safety. We have to provide the court system. We have to provide waste management, trash waste management. Cities, whether it be Shelbyville, Bell Buckle, Ward Chase, and Norman, can opt in or out of such responsibilities.
State law, counties can't do that.
That's right. So the buck stops here. And so when you have that kind of burden and responsibility on you, cities by nature are going to always be looking to not take on services that are not profitable. And so the things they're going to want to provide are things that they feel like make their city unique. And I don't, God bless them for it. I used to live in the city of Shelbyville at one time, but they don't go out of their way to step up and take these big responsibilities that absolutely have to happen. And so when that happens with cities across the state of Tennessee, this is not unique to Bedford. It puts a big challenge on the county burden system. And all we really have as an option for practical revenue generation as the county government is property tax. We do not have the luxury of laying on impact fees and some of the things that municipalities are permitted to do. We're only allowed to do what state law allows a county government to do, and so it limits us drastically, and the burden really is profound when you have high growth like Bedford is seeing, 1,000 people a year coming to our county. You're upside down when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah, I was listening to the sheriff the other day and talking, we built that new jail complex out there, 4 or 5 years ago, and built it for, I think, 420 inmates. And they're already, and I think we moved maybe a couple hundred over there when we moved, or 180, and now we're at like 320, 330 already because the county's just growing and growing. Cartwright Elementary School opened up, capacity about 800. I think they tried to get maybe 550. They're already I'm not sure on the numbers, but it's like 650 already. Right. I mean, the growth is, it's here. It's not like it's coming. It's here.
Well, and there's a lot of houses being built even in that area as we speak. You can drive down the road and see. So impact, and that's the thing about growth. Everybody would by naturally say, oh, yeah, growth's probably not good. But let me tell you what growth really means to a county government. The day they move in the house, we got to educate the kid. That's $1,500 new dollars coming out of your property and sales tax.
That's probably all it's generating from that house.
Not even generate, but one kid.
What about 2 kids then?
Yeah, it would be $3,000. Right. On the average, we're spending about $1,500 per child at the local level for education.
Right, because the state provides a lot of funding.
Much more than that goes into educating the child, but the county's burden. And then public safety. Immediately when you move in the house, you got to have fire protection available if you have an emergency. You got to have law enforcement patrolling. They're supposed to be a deterrent. You don't want them after you've had a problem. You want them in the area so you don't have a problem. So we need those proactive resources, not reactive. And so, again, when you do that and they move in today and we're not going to collect tax for at least a year from that piece of property, what are we supposed to do during that time? That's the kind of strains and constraints that really put pressure on the system to be effective and efficient on a daily basis.
Well, Mayor, we're about out of time here. And
what?
I know. Time flies when you're having fun, right? And it's a sunny day out there.
Started.
I know it, but we appreciate you coming in and talking about the budget, the various portions of the budget, and the budget process that we're going to be going through here real shortly. What's going on? I know you're very receptive to the public. Folks, if you got any questions, don't ever hesitate to call the mayor's office. Please. Or stop. He likes visitors to stop by to talk to him. He is on the run a lot. You might want to call, make an appointment.
But not necessary, and I'm happy to.
No, it's not necessary.
I'm happy to come to you if you will. Give me a heads up and what you're interested in, so I can bring the right resource with me. We want to meet you where you are when we can. We can't always do that, but we certainly enjoy going out and being right in the environment where the person is discussing what they're concerned.
Absolutely, and you've got the functional experts working with you, and we want folks to have accurate information. So I think that's critical. I know you feel that way as well, and the folks don't hesitate. You don't even have to agree with the mayor on something. He's happy to talk to you. I can guarantee you, because I've seen it many times over the years, but at least having a good discussion on things as well.
Differences in debates, how we get a better product. Now, when people are being unfair and unreasonable, it makes it difficult to come to some kind of understanding.
Right. Well, we all want to come together and make what's right to make Bedford County a better place to live and work.
We're better together.
Better together. Absolutely. Anything else, Mayor? We
got it.
All right, folks. This is Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting. Mayor, we've been speaking to Mayor Chad Graham, Bedford County Mayor, about the financial processes and what's going on here in Bedford County. We appreciate you coming in today, and I know folks really appreciate what the men and women of Bedford County government and yourself do to make this place a better Bedford, or a better place to live and work.
Absolutely.
Folks, we got 11 government talk shows every month right here on WLIJ 98.7. Tune in, and since we're in Equine County right here, hear it straight from the horse's mouth about what's going on in city and county government. Scott Johnson for Hopkins Farm Broadcasting. Until next time.
United Communications builds connections you can rely on. Whether it's fast internet for your home or business, our fiber network is designed for your community. No long hold times, no out-of-town providers, just real service from real people. Call 931-740-1800 or visit united.net. Thousands of Tennesseans already trust United. United Communications. Fast, local internet. When's the last time you've seen the eye doctor? Don't wait. Whether it's little Carter's first pair of glasses or keeping a good eye on your vision health as you age, your eyes are a precious thing. See personalized care for the whole family and friendly faces at Dr. Hasty Family Eye Care on 605 North Main in Shelbyville, across from the U.S. Post Office. Striving to bring you excellence in optometry every single day. Don't put your family's vision off. Make an appointment today at 931-684-2020. Personalized eye care for the whole family at Dr. Hasty Family Eye Care.
Kincaid's is proud to offer Beauty Rest Black to our customers. Beauty Rest Black represents a leap forward in bedding with sleep climate technology keeping you cool, and triple-stranded pocketed coils give you luxurious support all night long. Wake up refreshed and ready to take on the day with a new Beauty Rest Black mattress from Kincaid Service Company. 400 Madison Street, Shelbyville, across from the Speedway gas station. 931-684-5662.